What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tidal Gardens. If you're new here, Tidal Gardens is a coral farm located in Copley, Ohio, and pretty much on this channel, we talk about everything coral reef related. So this video in particular is one of the more highly anticipated videos. It's always the building update, because for the past couple of years, we've been constructing a new facility here. And so you can see a lot of these empty tanks around and behind me. And it's been a slow and steady adventure, let's just call it. Our updates have been somewhat slow, and the reason for that is, unfortunately, there's not a ton of big progress stuff to report. And because I tend to see this place every day, it seems pretty normal to me. But I guess looking back at the videos that we've posted of all these building updates, it might not necessarily be new to you. So I did compile a little list of some of the new goings on here since the last update video. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've got a little story for you about these quarantine tanks. Originally, we had planned to use these rolling carts that we had got from Harbor Freight. And unfortunately, those are kind of Harbor Freight quality. And we were having some issues with the tanks kind of overloading those carts. So for example, you can barely see it now, but the tanks themselves are starting to bow, and bowing right in the middle. So these frag trays were all starting to kind of do this sort of thing. It's like, that's probably not a good sign. And at that point, I already started to order these aluminum T-slot guys from 8020. But then about like a week after that, we started to notice on the carts that the legs themselves are starting to bow. And if you know anything about how kind of like structural stuff goes like that, once you start seeing that, it's just not going to get better on its own, and it's just a matter of time. So Luke and I pretty much built these aluminum stands as soon as they arrived in one afternoon. Luckily, I've got a lot of practice building all the stands for the other systems. So these actually came together. The first one, it was kind of a clown show because you kind of have to figure out how it all goes. There's no instructions on any of the custom build stuff. So you kind of have to piece it together. And the second one went up like that. So what was also nice was that we designed it to have additional head height for the skimmer, because believe it or not, when that cart started to bow, the bow was so bad that we couldn't get the skimmer head off to service that collection cup. Yeah, a little bit of a problem. And luckily, it's pretty much handled now. Like the construction of the 8020 stuff is super robust. I've got no concerns. And like the others, this is on wheels, so it can be carted around. And yeah, here we go. Now, by the time that this video is published, a lot of this stuff will be done with quarantine. We've quarantined now for close to 70 days, I'm gonna guess. And it's gonna get a couple more dips in Bayer and one more treatment of flatworm exit, and possibly one treatment of levamisole, because we're just essentially trying to nuke everything out of these things. And that's to go along with one previous treatment of flatworm exit and probably 3 other dips in Bayer. So if anything survives that, good for them. At this point, it's like, I give up. Like you deserve to live if you've gone through all that. So anyway, that's the story with the quarantine systems. Okay, so let's talk about these water containers. The biggest update that we did is on this saltwater side. This is the freshwater side and the saltwater side here. Now, the issue with a saltwater container of this size, this is 1,000 gallons, is that oftentimes there's going to be some debris and deposits that are going to collect at the bottom of this thing. And that's partly because of the salt mix that we use, and it's not particular to that salt mix. I'm just going to say this generally as how salt mix goes, because there's a lot of chemical things in salt that really want to react with one another. So in order to make a product that is in one single bucket, right? Got like one single bucket, and you have all of that in there, and you're supposed to like just dump this in there. In order to separate out those things like the calcium and the carbonate portions, for example, those two things really want to react. So when you're dosing 2-part, for example, you might see in the instructions, it'll say, hey, you really should not be dosing those two things at the same time, at the same place, because they're going to precipitate right out. Similar sort of thing that's going to go on in a salt mixing container. And in order for that salt mix to keep that stuff separate, oftentimes they have to use some of these like little impurities, binders, things of that sort. Now, for a typical home hobbyist, that's not a big deal. You're using only maybe a few cupfuls of salt at a time, only maybe a few buckets worth, at most 50 to 100 gallons. But when you're dumping in 6 full buckets every single batch to make 1,000 gallons of salt, you're going to get some collection at the bottom. And I think the other part of our issue was we weren't getting enough circulation to even keep that salt stirring. So we went with a brute force method originally. Then we used like an Ecotech MP60 right at the bottom, and that actually did do a pretty good job of circulating the water through this container. Now the problem with the MP60 that we ran into was that the two halves, the wet side and the dry side, if it's out of alignment a little bit, it starts to rattle, and that can cause like some serious problems for the pump. And you have to be able to reach in there and adjust that wet side. And here, that ain't happening. If, for example, if where we had it placed was right at the very bottom there, and there's the top, you're not reaching that to do any kind of minor adjustment. So you're kind of stuck with just trying to like fiddle with the outside portion, and that's it. In practice, it just doesn't work. It should work, it doesn't work. So we decided to drill 2 holes and plumb in 2 Vectra L2 closed loops. And so the suction side comes right at the bottom there, and the water gets delivered all the way up top. 1 there and 1 there. And once it comes down into the tub, we kind of have it spider out to kind of strategic locations where we don't want to see stuff settling. And so that kind of churns the water down below. And so far so good. It's worked out. It took about a full day to get clear water to the point where you could see down and see all the things going on at the very base of this thing. But we were fully prepared to cut these pumps out and use Abyss A400s. But that is an incredible extravagance. And so far, the Vectra L2s are working out. So hopefully they continue to work out, and I don't have to spend the kilobucks to do the Abyss route. But I'll keep you posted on that. And again, these are like brand new, so maybe there might be some performance degradation over time that we might have to deal with. But luckily, the other benefit of doing the closed loop thing is that the pumps are accessible from outside. So there's no more of somebody having to climb in there after something or adjusting anything. All of it is done outside of the tank, which is nice. Ooh, look, new sump. So this sump is pretty much the same design as our previous sump in the current system that's running. It measures 96 inches by 48 inches wide, and it's 24 inches tall. And the general idea behind having this big sump that's just a blank template is it allows a lot of flexibility for when we design or redesign different things that could be going on in here. So for example, over in the other system, we just have currently a skimmer running. But once we start adding in the fish, we want to be able to install like a big old UV system. The other thing that we're starting to look at is possibly adding a 75-gallon tank essentially in this guy. We're just going to get like an acrylic stand made and have a 75-gallon tank here purely to grow Chaeto. We've seen some really interesting results from other people that have gone with a total algal filtration method. I'm guessing that a lot of the issues that we're running into next door might be due to elevated nutrients. Just so you guys know, when you start to work in systems that are like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 gallons, the mechanics of that kind of change pretty substantially. So while it's easier to control like nitrates and phosphates in smaller aquariums, once you get into like these big culturing systems, it's a lot more challenging. We're seeing some benefits to growing out Chaeto. Long story short, I wanted to plumb inline a fairly large container just to do Chaeto in here. We can run it off of a utility manifold and have it drain directly down back into the sump here and see how that does. But again, going back to the sump design, we just wanted the biggest, most flexible space just to do different types of configurations over time, because it's really hard to predict what sort of systems you're going to want 3, 4, 5 years from now, and just to have the most flexibility gives you a lot of freedom in that regard. So, new sump is here. It's just a matter of time before all this other stuff gets plumbed in. And I laugh because a matter of time usually around here means forever later. So anyway, new sump. Okay, let's talk a little bit about lighting. So since we've purchased these lighting fixtures here, these are the Gen 4 Radion Pros. A Gen 5 came out, and we get asked all the time if we're going to then upgrade everything to Gen 5s. Short answer is no, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. So first of all, just because the Gen 5 Pro came out doesn't mean the Gen 4s stopped working, right? And when it comes to farming coral, the benefit of going from Gen 4 to Gen 5, it's not really huge. And the Gen 4 Pros have, for a very long time, demonstrated the ability to grow coral just fine. Having said that, we've got this Peninsula show tank located over there, and realistically speaking, it's going to be a good long time before these tanks get all up and running. And the bottleneck really isn't filling these things up with water. It's the quarantine, because we're quarantining for so long. And that process will go by faster as we get corals into here and then we start propagating. But that first batch of corals is kind of a slow point before we can really start ramping up production. Now, that puts us months away from setting up this big show tank that has a dozen Radion Pros over it. And what we've decided to do in the meantime was to reallocate those resources and replace some aging fixtures over in the greenhouse, because we were using a lot of these $100 Amazon T5 fixtures. They've been working great for the longest time. We don't really do a whole lot of maintenance on those. We barely even wipe them clean, so a lot of them are kind of degrading a little bit, as is per usual in a greenhouse setting. Now, we're still using a lot of them, but for some of the more key tanks, we wanted to see about removing those fixtures and going with some of the Radions that we just kind of have sitting around here, not really doing anything. So we've kind of cannibalized our stock of Radions for that tank. And so when it comes time to relight that system, we're probably going to try the Radion, the Gen 5 Pros, or whatever like the latest and greatest new light fixture might be. It could be that long. So anyway, we're gonna see. We're gonna see how that goes. All right, guys, that pretty much does it from here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your interest and excitement over this project. Sometimes doing the project itself can be a little less fun than it seems. So kind of getting that encouragement from you guys really does help. I mean, we've got a great community here. So speaking of community, if you like this sort of content, we do an update every 1 to 2 months on this building, and we're going to be doing more innovative show tanks in the future. So if you want to stay up to date on that, I encourage you guys to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and thanks YouTube for making it that much harder. Also make sure that the notification settings are set to all. All right, guys, thanks again. Comments are welcome as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy reefing.